Hi, in this session I'm going to tell you how the enemies are able to actually inflict damage to the player. I tell you both for the enemies that have melee attack and also for those who shoots the fireball. First, you want to add the melee attack code. So, as you know, the code doesn't know that this is dangerous. So we have to give the meaning by the code. For example, we say, we give you the place, for example, um, this sword from the, and we give you the attack range like a sphere. So anything that comes into anything that comes into that sphere would take damage. So we give you the attack point, which for example we place it here, and we give it attack range. So let's do that. Serialized field, private, transform, attack point, and float attack range. And something that we had for the player. If you only want that the player loses health, then you don't need this array because there's only one player, and you can use check a sphere. But as later in the game you might use, for example, the pets or summoning companions, then we put all of them in the player layer. So we use this array. So let me bring it into the enemy AI and make a function private void melee attack. But um players, and it was attack point, attack range. Okay, to which layers? I say serialized field, private, mask layer mask. I'm sorry, layer mask, layers. We say players layer, and I say, for example, target in players, targets, get components, player health. Okay, take damage, and loads damage. Mm, float. Int. Oh, it was int in my code. So int. And you can check for null as well if this is not null. So they do something like this, and I should go to the player. I make a new layer and call it player. The tag is only should be for the player or player, the elf. But this layer could be, for example, for the summoning thing, for NPCs, anything. And they should have this. Let's see how many seconds does it take that it performs the attack. It nearly takes maybe half a second. Some enemies are faster and some enemies are slower, so I can give that for each of them. Um, for example, wait time melee. And by default, I give it half a second. And here I say invoke. What's that? Okay, I say invoke and wait time melee. Now we have to go here and give it the this player for this player. And now we give this attack point and this. And let me bring the gizmos so we can see where is that one. So let me bring it here to see the range. I call it blue. And it was attack points and attack range. It start from him. So here I give it a empty object and I call it attack point. I can give that to the place of this um, axe. Give the attack point. An attack range we 1. Okay, this is good. And when he moves, for example, attack downward. The attack point also moves with that because it's a child of this axe. Yes, I also set that for this one. What? Ah, I didn't, as I removed this bricks, I need to go there again and bake them. No, it is working. So now we have this melee attack. Now we want to have the shaman that doesn't have a melee attack, but it casts a spell. Yes, you also have this code, but you will change it a little bit. You can have a secret code for your mages or those that have the projectile, but um, I use all of them in one code. So if I want to change something about all the enemy, I can easily just um, fix one script. And just I wouldn't go to one by one of the script. It's just your choice. So I select that inside inspector. Everything is the same. Yes, it has to chase me, but the stop distance is very different. It has to be stop more from me. For example, the melee attack, those enemies that had a melee attack would come very close to me, but mages should stay away, which I can customize that through this serialized field. Just the attacking is different. There is the attack, yes. But instead of this one, I make another function. I say private void magic attack. It just needs to instantiate. Again, I give it a fireball, for example. Serialized field, private, game up, game object, orb. And for the placement, I can use um, the attack point. I can instantiate orb in the uh, attack point that position, and so now we have it. Of course, we have to adjust later, but for now, that's fine. And here I say if is not is mage, it means that they do melee attack. Can they do this? And by default, make it false. Else, okay, do this. If it's a mage, we go to instantiate that after some time. So now let's try that. So that is your mage. And I call it attack point. And attack point is here. You can give it to the right hand. Let me go. So you can make that an attack point, but I'm going to give it some offset. So I make something like that. So but it is not here. It does that. But the orb, yes, is made. And stop distance would be 6, or the cooldown 2 is good. It's not important because it's for melee, not for the mage. You just need to make the orbs. Side route one of the previous projectiles to here, and I make this red. And also trail, I just changed that. For enemy, let's put all of my enemies there. And the this projectile and heat as well. Okay, now we have this mage. Let me deactivate them again. So you mage, your orb is this. And if I go to the player, you also need to give a something like that to the enemy, or take all of them and make a new script just for the enemy. So script enemy, and I called it enemy projectile. Sit here. Yes, it has rigid body, so I give it a damage. By default, it would be 10. And set directions. So, as exactly for the player tag, which we set the direction. So yeah, we need to get the code and do these things. So here I say private enemy projectile, enemy spell. And I call it game object. Okay, or object is equal to that is the enemy spell. For the damage on collision enter. Okay, if collision that's game object that compare tag is player, then okay, lose. Then I say collision that's game object that get components, player health, that take damage. For example, that's this damage. So I think everything is ready. Okay, this is your projectile. The heat would be this heat. We need to give it a collider. Yes, and if not mesh ancient as well. The humanoid is good. And also a capsule collider. Exactly touch the ground. Nav mesh modifier. Again, I gave this the animation to see the time I did it while not recording. And there is very something important. If you have enemy, the projectile, remove this and give your, I think it was enemy projectile. And this is the heat. Yeah. Now let's check that. Why it comes to me? Well, that is because the nav mesh, the agents just makes the enemy to go and move towards inside me, and it doesn't pay attention. Okay, that just stop in a distance. To fix that, we can say the agent that is a stop is true, so we force it to stop. But if it want to chase, then we have to make it false. So now the problem is fixed. Okay, he stops and he shoots. Yeah, everything works just as intended. Bam. Later we'll add the health system for the enemies.